Action News One-on-One, brought to you by We Don't Have Time. This new series focuses on partners and investors supporting We Don't Have Time. And next to me here in the studio, I have a counter, and this counts down to 2030. And we need to halve our emissions of carbon dioxide by 2030. My name is Katarina Rolfsdotter Jansson. I am the host of this program, and I'm very happy to have with me as a guest today, Cassie Flynn from the United Nations Development Program. And Cassie Flynn is Strategic Advisor on Climate Change.
Meet Cassie Flynn. Cassie is an internationally recognized expert on global treaty negotiations on climate change. As Strategy Advisor on Climate Change at the United Nations Development Program, she provides advice to countries on fulfilling the Paris Agreement through the Climate Promise. Last year, UNDP and partners launched the Mission 1.5 campaign to educate people about climate change solutions. The result was the largest survey on climate solutions in history, gathering opinions from over 50 countries representing more than 56% of the world population.
Hi there, Cassie.
Hi, Katarina. It's lovely to be here.
Wonderful to have you. So, Cassie, I'd like to start by asking you, from your perspective, which are your greatest fears when it comes to climate change?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question because quite honestly, there's a lot to be scared of. And I think a lot of people are looking around and seeing climate change this crisis is happening in real time all around us, from wildfires in Australia and California to sea level rise and these Category 5 storms that seem to be hitting at a greater velocity and more often than we ever thought. And so for me, when you ask me about my greatest fear, I would say it's time, because as the title says, we don't have time, and the clock is really in a countdown. And if we don't take action now, we are putting in place a future for ourselves that is one that quite simply we may not survive.
Thank you. And of course, this is a concern that is shared by so many people all over the world. And now we just make sure that we unite our forces and move forward, because we only have 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie Flynn, in terms of hope and hopes, where does it lie from your perspective?
Mm-hmm. I've got a lot of hope. In my role at the United Nations Development Program, I'm really lucky because I get to see all of the incredible things that are going on around the world. And whether it is villages really starting to create new businesses, or governments starting to put in place the things that they need to do to protect people. People are really trying to tackle this crisis in all of these different ways, and it is so important. And when it comes to hope, something that I am so excited about is that we are seeing more and more people engaged on the climate crisis than ever before. I remember days when you say climate change and people say, whoa, I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about that. And now you have people saying, well, yeah, I want to learn more. I may not know about this, but I understand that this is happening, and it's something that I want to be a part of the solution.
And this is so hopeful. I see it also from my perspective that more and more people are willing to engage. And there is a lot of power in the power of the many, right?
Absolutely.
So Cassie, when it comes to passion, where does your personal passion to act on climate change come from?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it is a moment for all of us to really rise to the challenge. And I'm inspired continually by the people around me who wake up every day, roll up their sleeves and say, I'm not going to stand on the sidelines. I'm not going to do this. And I'm fortunate because at a very young age, I had an opportunity to travel a lot. I had an opportunity to see different parts of the world. I had the opportunity to go to Kenya when I was 16. And it really affected me because I got to see a different part of the world, and I got to see the challenges that people who grew up a world away from me in the United States were living their lives, and what was on their minds and what they were doing. And when I came home after that experience, I remember thinking about how connected we all are, and how even though we are so different, we are all humans on this planet, and we need to work together. And as I learned more about the climate crisis, I kept going back to that thought of, well, if we have sort of gotten ourselves into this mess, how can we work together to get ourselves out of it? And that's certainly a part of my passion.
Thank you for sharing that. So could you please tell us about what the United Nations Development Program does in this field? And also you have launched something that you call 1.5 People Climate's Vote. So please tell us about this work that you do.
Yeah, well, the United Nations Development Program is the largest supporter of countries around the world when it comes to their pledges underneath the Paris Agreement. And this is a really important time as we are looking toward COP26 in Glasgow, that countries really need to show up in Glasgow with something to say about how they're going to address the climate crisis. They need to show up with their pledge. And at UNDP, we have something called our Climate Promise. And this is where we are helping countries around the world to be as bold as they can be when it comes to reducing emissions, when it comes to increasing their resilience to climate impacts. And something that was really important to us about these pledges is that they're as inclusive as possible. We really do need everyone around the table. And this is where the People's Climate Vote came in. The People's Climate Vote is about helping everyone to have a voice in solving the crisis and to be able to connect those people to the policymakers that are making the big decisions about these pledges. And so what we did was we asked people around the world, and we used a pretty unconventional way to do it. We used video games, and we said, how do you want to solve the crisis? What do you want your government to do? What do you want your country to do? And we have compiled all of those voices, and we are creating sort of reports for world leaders to say, okay, here's how the people in Kazakhstan think about climate change. Here's how the people in South Africa are thinking about climate change. And really trying to give this voice to people that are seeing this climate crisis and they want to help solve it.
Fantastic. So what is the work? I mean, how is the response from the people that you have approached been? And also, have you shared any of the input with any decision makers yet?
Absolutely. So one thing that came out of this that was so interesting, and with this People's Climate Vote, it ended up being the largest poll of public opinion on climate change ever done. And so it's really given us an insight into not only how are people thinking about the climate crisis, but how they want to see it solved. And what we did was we asked people, we said, well, do you think climate change is a global emergency? And then we let people pick among 18 different policy choices across energy, transportation, protecting people, farms and food, economy, and nature. And what we found was that nearly 2/3 of people in the world think that climate change is a global emergency. This is incredible. 2 out of 3 people really are looking around and saying, yes, this is a problem. And we asked this question during a global pandemic. And so people are seeing that this is something that needs to be addressed. And so what we have done now is we created a global report to give everyone an idea of how people voted. And the top 4 sort of policy choices that were really interesting were protecting forests and land, renewable energy, climate-friendly farming, and green jobs. And what is so fascinating about this is that is a wide scope of responses, right? That is something that you can see how people are really seeing the climate crisis and wanting it to be solved in a whole different ways. There's no silver bullet. And so what we have done now is started to really compile all of this information. We have started giving it to world leaders, and we've actually had quite a tremendous response. Everyone from the COP president to the G7 presidency to Greta Thunberg to all sorts of people have really responded to this, saying, yes, we do now know that there are solutions out there that do have public support very, very widely.
It's fantastic work. What I followed is very inspiring. The reads and the output and what people have been sharing also in social media about this. So Cassie, Flynn, in terms of obstacles, we do have quite a few for us to be able to reach the 1.5 ambition in Paris. Could you identify the biggest obstacles, and also maybe share your thoughts on how to take those down, these obstacles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a steep mountain to climb. We need in the world right now a change at the speed and scale that really up until COVID we had not seen before. But the good news is that COVID really taught us this is possible, that the world can change very, very, very quickly. And I think if there's something, a glimmer of hope to see out of the COVID crisis, I think it's that we can do this, but it does require sort of everyone at the table. It can't just be governments, it can't just be private sector, it can't just day. We don't have time is such a leader when it comes to bringing everyone together on Earth Day. And I had a real pleasure of connecting with Ingmar and connecting with the We Don't Have Time crew on what they were doing when it comes to Earth Day. And I just loved it. I thought, oh, here is this really fantastic platform that is really cultivating a sense of community around this. It's a place that people can go to ask questions, to discuss ideas, to connect with others. And I found that so inspiring and powerful.
I completely agree, of course, being the host of this fantastic network's broadcasts. And we're just letting you know, we're busy planning the next big Earth Day broadcast. So we will be back. In terms of opening the UNDP up for climate dialogue, how come you decided to do this, and what has it led to so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it goes back to this sense of community, right? I mean, we, at the United Nations Development Program, we are, of course, part of the UN. And so we work a lot with governments. We work a lot with policymakers around the world. And as I mentioned, something that is really important to us is to be able to help be a bridge between policymakers and what's going on in all different sectors of society outside of government. And this is where we're really excited about We Don't Have Time, because we can connect with people and we can connect with their ideas. We can get feedback on different ideas that we have. And really it's a place to go to be able to ask questions, sometimes really hard questions about how these pieces really fit together and what we're doing. And we've been really pleased with the results so far. We have had a number of different ideas come forward. They've been liked. We have interacted, and it's been a place where we also have felt pretty inspired with the engagement.
That's wonderful, because a lot of people see the United Nations as something far away and distant, and sort of, you can't really permeate the structures? How do you get in? How do you get your voice listened to? So this is a fantastic way of opening up, and it's wonderful to have you on board indeed. And what I've seen from the interaction, it's been quite fascinating to see how people really connect and share climate love and those ideas and etc. with you. Fantastic. So in terms of the future, being on the We Don't Have Time platform, what do you hope to achieve coming forward?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's a few things here. I mean, one, of course, is having this place for dialogue and this place for ideas, but also sort of going back to, honestly, kind of back to my fear and the clock ticking is and this is where I think We Don't Have Time and the platform, what we've so enjoyed is that we can really cultivate this community, but we can also help to inspire this kind of radical shift that we all need. And that when you have ideas about agriculture, alongside ideas about youth jobs, alongside ideas about water, you can start to see, oh, we're really onto something here. This is really starting to boil in many ways, and you can see the ideas coming to the surface. And something that we are really hoping to achieve with that is to further be a part of that community, to listen, to engage, and to cultivate this community so we can have this radical shift that we need to address the climate crisis in the time that we need to.
And the time is indeed running out. So Cassie, Flynn, in terms of your colleagues at the United Development Program, how do they respond to this new dialogue platform that you're on now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think everybody's been really excited about it. We've had, since we started doing it, we've had a number of colleagues that aren't necessarily a part of the climate team sort of say, hey, we've seen this thing, we've seen it on social media, and we'd be really interested in sort of this tool, because at the UN, it's really special for us to be able to have a place that we can go to really see where people are and to kind of take the pulse of what people are thinking, and to get feedback in real time.
Well, it's a true democratic way of opening up that you have access to now. So we're delighted to have you on board, and it was a pleasure talking to you on this new segment here, Cassie, Flynn, and well, we'll connect again, I hope, and best of luck with